can you definitively say you will support the Republican nominee, even if that nominee is Donald J. Trump? Senator Rubio, yes or no?
I'll support the Republican nominee.
Mr. Trump, yes or no?
I'll support Donald if he's the Republican nominee.
Senator Cruz, yes or no? You will support Donald Trump if he's the nominee?
Yes, because I gave my word that I would.
If he ends up as the nominee, sometimes he makes it a little bit hard, but, you know, I will support whoever is the Republican nominee for president.
I think Donald Trump's a disaster. I think he'll hurt the country and we'll lose in a landslide. But I will still pledge to support the nominee.
I think in the end, Republicans across this country, certainly here in the state of Wisconsin, we're going to be behind the nominee.
As I've always done since the beginning, since I was 18 years old, I'm going to support the Republican nominee.
I'm going to support the Republican nominee, whoever he or she may be. But the bottom line, if it's Trump, so be it. That's who I'll support.
All right, now that was a flashback from some former GOP presidential candidates who all signed a pledge promising to support the eventual Republican nominee. But now, all two of them are singing a very different tune, including Senator Lindsey Graham. Watch this.
I just don't believe Donald Trump is a reliable conservative Republican. Good luck with Paul Ryan trying to find a conservative agenda with this guy. And I don't think he has the temperament and judgment to be commander-in-chief. I can understand why people want to support the nominee of the Republican Party. I would like to be able to do that, but I just can't.
Now, Senator Graham is not the only former candidate to break his promise. On Friday, former Governor Jeb Bush posted a lengthy statement to Facebook, writing in part, quote, "In November, I will not vote for Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton, but I will support principled conservatives at the state and federal level." And over the weekend, Donald Trump forcefully responded to both Bush and Graham. Watch this.
They all wanted me to sign a pledge. I said, I'll sign a pledge. A pledge means something. Jeb Bush, very low-energy individual, signed a pledge. And the pledge says, we will guarantee you're going to endorse everything else. I signed it. So Jeb Bush is not an honorable person. Lindsey Graham is not an honorable person. Because when you sign a pledge, that's supposed to mean something, right? It didn't mean anything.
Here now with reaction, former White House Press Secretary Ari Fleischer and Fox News contributor Tucker Carlson, Fox News legal analyst Peter Johnson Jr. Sorry, Peter. All right, so Ari, it's kind of simple. At the very first debate, the only person not to raise his hand when that question was asked was Donald Trump. A lot of pressure was brought to bear on him. He finally gave in and said, yeah, all right, I will support the eventual nominee. What about those people that break their promise?
Look, Sean, I haven't been hesitant to criticize Donald Trump when he was in the wrong, but you got to give this round to Donald Trump. Donald Trump is right. And one of the reasons that Donald Trump is running well is because of the sense that politicians will say and do anything and their word doesn't matter, so the public is looking for an outsider. This reinforces the sentiment that people in Washington will say whatever they want to say and not mean it. Donald Trump's right about this criticism. They should be supporting him.
Yeah, Peter?
Ari is right. You know, words mean something, and someone's word better count, especially in a presidential race. They're looking bad. They're making Donald Trump look good. And the Republican Party, in trying to walk away from Donald Trump at this point, especially the Speaker of the House, it's an absolute embarrassment. It shows an utter disrespect for the will of Republican voters throughout the country.
Ari, Ari's right, but Tucker, let me take it to another level. You got Bill Kristol, Mitt Romney, and Senator Ben Sasse all talking about a potential third-party candidacy. Right. Let's go to things that Bill Kristol has said in a phone interview with the Washington Post. He said he came pretty close to being elected president, talking about Romney. I thought he might consider doing it, especially since he has been forthright in explaining why Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton should not be the president of the United States. He went on to say, obviously, if there were to be an independent candidacy, Romney's support would be very important. I wanted to get his wisdom on whether or not it was less doable than I thought. It was like, well, you should do it. I wouldn't presume he would, but I'm hoping that he begins to think about it a little more. Then he tweeted out as well. He said, you know, Clinton versus Trump would be stupid and mutually destructive, that an honest, competent independent could win. If Bartolo Colon can hit a home run, he's a Mets pitcher, he's like 42, that an independent candidate can win the presidency. Are they openly trying to just sabotage Trump here? Are they just trying to ruin anything? Are they trying to help Hillary become the president? look, I mean, first to the presidential candidates, I give Jeb Bush a pass. I mean, Trump didn't just beat him. He basically destroyed his life and made him unemployable. I think he has a right to be bitter about that. Lindsey Graham, nobody cares what he says. Trump makes a massive mistake engaging with the guy punching down. As for Republicans in D.C., they're totally bewildered. They think this is about Trump. They don't get that Trump, as he put it, I thought pretty well, didn't inherit the Republican Party. He won it in primaries against 16 other candidates. This is what happens when, you know, you lose a couple of wars in 2 presidential elections, and Washington Republicans are implicated in those losses, and voters are mad at them, and they don't want to admit that. This is a referendum on them, on the leadership of the Republican Party in D.C., and so of course they're resistant. And by the way, they have legitimate criticisms about Trump, I think, but really it's about them. This is a challenge to their authority and their stewardship of the party, and they've come up short in the eyes of voters, so no wonder they're mad. Yeah, Ari, I think you're right. It cements in the minds of voters that these guys are all talk, no action, to use Trump's words, that their word means nothing. I would argue that they caused a lot of the insurgency this year. And I also think it's deeper than that. I think it may end up backfiring, boomeranging back, and helping Trump here.
But, you know, I make a distinction between the candidates who gave their word and signed a pledge, who now reneged on their pledge, and people like Paul Ryan, who made no such pledge. You know, the fact is that Donald Trump has created and asked for much of this. Donald Trump has divided the Republican Party. The Republican Party is divided. So we're going to continue to watch this unfold before us. But the most assured thing you can watch is politicians will head for the hills if Donald Trump is down double digits remaining in August or even September of 2016 to Hillary.
But wait,
that's
let me
when
take
the entire party will abandon him to protect their own re-election.
Doesn't Paul Ryan, as a leader of the Republican Party, he doesn't do a lot of interviews. He did this interview on purpose. He wanted to take that shot across the bow.
That's right. He did. Well, I think that's a reflection of Paul's deeply held ideology. Paul runs on ideological principles, conservative principles that you support, Sean. Donald Trump doesn't. There's a legitimate difference between the two, and that's what politics should be. It should be the airing of differences.
But there is an intersection.
Unity is a desirable result, but it's not a mandatory result. And this one, I agree with Donald Trump. It's better to be unified, but you don't have to be unified. The question is, can Donald Trump win a presidential election being so different from anybody who's come before him? That's what 2016 will test.
Well, he knocked out 16 significant people. There is an intersection here, though, in terms of where he stands on health care, where he stands on the borders, where he stands on education, sending things back to the states, balancing budgets, all the things that he said to me repeatedly in interviews, and conservatism, even though he's a more nationalist populist.
Well, he's a self-identified conservative, and his positions are conservative by nature. And so the test in America now is, will Paul Ryan and a few others try and delegitimize the primary process? Will they try to make an intervention on Donald Trump, put him in a 12-step political purge to say
he's not going to change?
Well, he's not going to change, and if he changes, he's going to do is to his detriment, because Americans and Republicans and independents are looking to him to stand for the things that he stood for in winning in this race.
Don't you think, Tucker, that this is sabotage in a way? It seemed almost coordinated, because it was all unfolding in a 3-day period here.
Well, of course. I mean, there are a lot of people here who don't want Trump to win. They'd rather have Hillary because the rules of the game wouldn't change, and, you know, it would be recognizable, the landscape politically. But I got to say, of course Trump doesn't have orthodox conservative positions on a whole bunch of things. But on the issue that I think is driving this election above all, which is immigration, who is more conservative? Trump, who really, I think, sincerely does want to control the borders, or Paul Ryan, who presides over a party that has failed to do so on purpose for generations? The only reason that Barack Obama got elected president twice, that California is a left-wing state, is because the demographics of the country are totally different. That was by design, and it was by with the complicity of Republicans. So, like, who's the liberal here?
All right, guys, thank you all for being with us. Appreciate it.